The statistics are clear. About 80% of preventable deaths from trauma occur from massive blood loss. In a high-stress emergency, you only have about 3 to 5 minutes to control this massive hemorrhaging. Now granted, 3 to 5 minutes can feel like a very long time, but it's still quite a ways to go before the ambulance gets to you. In this video, we're gonna go over my 3 to 5 minute kit as a responsible gun owner. Stick around to find out. Hello again, my name's Dennis. I'm a gun enthusiast and a legal gun owner based in France. Guns are very dangerous tools that must be treated with respect. As a legal and lawful gun owner, I try to be as responsible as I can with this tool that is my firearm. As you can see, it's clear, nothing in the chamber. Being safe and responsible not only includes not putting a round through my TV when I'm dry firing because I did not check the chamber.
Did you mean to do that?
Yeah. But it also means being prepared for the bad things that can eventually happen. I've been at matches before where there have been negligent discharges. Now, I'm not calling them accidental discharges because the gun is not going to shoot itself unless it's a P320, obviously. But today I'm going to show you what I pack in my bag as a first aid kit to have everything ready in case things go south. Now, this is not a boo-boo kit. This is for serious injury only, and I pack it right now hoping I will never ever have to use it. I have taken some classes. I am not a paramedic. I am not a doctor. I am just a gun owner that is responsible and wants to be ready in case things go south. This is not obviously legal advice or medical advice. There's a lot of content on YouTube that you can find regarding how to put on a tourniquet, how to put on a chest seal. I will not be going over how to use those items. I will be going over what items I use and how I integrate them into my range kit. I am as safe as I can with my pistol. However, not everyone is, unfortunately. And I have seen people flag each other at the range or people shooting into the ground because they didn't reholster properly. So unfortunately, this is a kit that I have to carry around and have to know how to use it. I'm gonna go over what I put in the kit, why I put it in, and how I put it in. Perfect, so let's begin. The first thing, and I think it's the most obvious, is going to be a tourniquet. I think at this point, everyone knows what a tourniquet is. If you don't know what it is, then you should go look. I paid 39 euros for this soft tactical tourniquet. It's wide. I took it in orange because this is not for war. I am not preparing for combat. I want this orange so that the paramedics can clearly see where it is. There's also a little place here where you can write the time that the tourniquet was put on so paramedics and people can see. The windlass is in aluminum compared to other tourniquets I've seen that's in plastic, so this is quite solid. And it is detachable here, so it's not the Velcro kind. It's great, I know how to use it. I've used it before in training, in classes, so I went with this one. The next thing I bought was also an Israeli bandage. These are pretty common, these are pretty standard, they should be in your kit. So there's some tear places that are very well defined here, so you just open it up, stick it, wrap everything nice and tight and hope the bleeding stops. This was not too expensive. This was about 7 euros, so I recommend getting them for sure. If you have the budget, I really recommend opening one of these and looking at how it works, at what it is, and just getting familiar with your gear. I've used this before, obviously not in combat situations, but in classroom scenarios, so I'm quite familiar with everything. The next item I have is a survival blanket because, as you know, when you lose a lot of blood, you also lose a lot of temperature.
Oh, the kid's frozen!
Losing temperature also means that your body is gonna lose its ability to clot. Under 95 degrees Fahrenheit, your body will have a lot of trouble coagulating all that blood, which is what you need to stop the bleeding. So this is essential to stop that bleeding, and it will keep your casualty from having hypothermia. So you wanna use these. They're very cheap. You can buy them in bulk. They're great to have. I also got these trauma shears. So these are pretty standard trauma shears, nothing fancy in this case. I am not a paramedic, as I mentioned before, or a medical professional, so I will not be using these a lot. I hope I will never ever have to use them. So I didn't go with the high-end, expensive ones that are made to be used and used and used. This should be used only once. It was about $1 or not even. So important to go on the kit, and I'll show you how to place them when we get to packing. I think it's also pretty standard to have gauze. This is just regular old gauze. You could use it to clean off some of the blood in the chest if you have a sucking chest wound, just so the seal is nice and tight and seals properly. I think it's always good to have some gauze. You can never have enough. This is, again, not really expensive. You can buy this at basically any pharmacy. Now, this is a thing I hope I will never ever have to use. This is a high fin vent chest seal. So it comes in twin packs because normally if there's an entry, there is sometimes an exit, so you need to cover both holes. Now, I'm not gonna go into detail of why I went with this one, but I did some research and this is one of the best in the market. It's really good. It's made in America and it has been pretty reliable for the people that have used it. But again, it's very important for a sucking chest wound to have something like this. It has the valve because some other chest seals don't have a valve. It's good to have a valve because sometimes air needs to go out without going in, and this will do exactly that. Now, this gauze is the equivalent of a quick clot. In the United States, quick clot is more common. Here, this was a little bit more common. It doesn't work the same as quick clot. It's a different agent. This is a hemostatic gauze that will help you stop bleeding whenever you cannot put a tourniquet on an extremity. So it's mostly for the joints. So let's think shoulders, armpits, the inner thigh, the groin. Wherever you cannot use a tourniquet or even an Israeli bandage, you want to use this. This is hemostatic, which means it's gonna help the blood clot and help stop the bleeding faster. This particular one is a polysaccharide, which is basically a long chain of sugar molecules derived from chitin. And chitin is the most abundant natural polymer after cellulose. The quick clot has an agent called kaolin, which is China clay, which also helps clotting. It's just two different ways of stopping the blood. Maybe one's better than the other. I chose this one because this is the option that I had available. The next thing I'm going to include is some gloves. These are food grade gloves. They don't even have to be medical grade gloves. They don't really have to be sterile because you don't really have to worry about if a glove is sterile or not, if your casualty is just bleeding out. Gloves are going to protect you from bloodborne pathogens. So it's gonna be a barrier between all the nasty stuff that's coming out of your casualty and you, kind of like, you know, some other rubbery things that we like to use.
Yeah, boy.
They don't really take up a lot of space. They're not that expensive. Also, something that's gonna go in there is a permanent marker. So when you have a tourniquet and you put it on, you wanna note the exact time that that tourniquet was put on, just so that doctors, once that the casualty is stabilized, just so doctors can properly take that tourniquet out quickly, right after having it for a couple of hours. Some of those toxins that build up in the extremity can go up into the bloodstream and create an infection. So it's important for doctors and EMT and everyone to have that timing of when the tourniquet was done. Also, having a permanent marker is really useful for any type of situation. If you want to write that your casualty has an allergic reaction to any type of medicine, honestly, the easiest thing is just write it in their forehead. It's gonna be much easier for EMT to understand. If there's no time to explain and the chaos is everywhere, just write on their forehead or write on their arm, or it's always useful to have. They're really cheap, I think it's worth it, so it's going in there. I'm also gonna be putting in there medical tape. This is always useful to have. It's always nice to be able to patch something up. I have gauze, so I can improvise a little bandage if I don't want to open a big chest seal or open my Israeli bandage. This is always useful to have. It's not very expensive, so I don't see why you shouldn't put one in there. You might notice that I'm missing a nasopharyngeal air tube, and that's because I haven't learned how to use that properly. I'm looking for courses that I can go to and attend so I can get better, as I should. And I haven't learned yet how to use it, so I'm not gonna include something in my kit that I don't know how to use because it really would not make sense. Now let's talk costs. So the Israeli bandage, as I said, was about €7. The survival blanket was 58 cents of a euro. The trauma shears were €1.80. The tourniquet, I said it was 39.90 €, so basically 40 euros. And the gauze was 41.50 €. The gloves, I'm basically not gonna count them because they're so cheap. This permanent marker you can find anywhere for $2 or $3 maybe. Medical tape also. It doesn't really matter which type it is as long as you get one that feels good. They should run you for about 5 or 6 euros. The high-fin chest seal was 42 euros because I bought that off of Amazon and it came from the United States. The rest I bought here locally in France. Now I'm gonna talk on how we're gonna pack this thing up. And this is the secret. This is a vacuum sealer that's for food, but you can use it for everything. And today we're gonna use it for this emergency kit. I also use it for my ammunition, just to completely take away all the humidity and the moisture that can get in there for long-term storage of my ammunition. These machines normally come with these plastic bags, which is a little thicker than a regular plastic bag that you would get from a Walmart or something like that. But they're very resistant and they are going to hold everything nice and tight in there. So let's go over how to do this. I'm going to start by putting in the tourniquet, make sure it's all the way in there. Next, I'm gonna put the hyphen chest seals. The next thing that's going in there is the gauze. We're also gonna put the survival blanket. Next, we have the Israeli bandage, gauze, followed by the permanent marker. Gloves are going to go next, and we're gonna finish with the tape. Notice I didn't put the trauma shears. These will go on the outside because we don't wanna make any holes or puncture this whole package. So these are gonna go outside, and they're also gonna be useful to cut this pack open when things go south. Now I'm gonna carefully close this bag, make sure everything is nice and tight in there. This is pretty easy to use. Just gotta open it, close it, vacuum power normal, and moist level dry. I'm gonna click on vacuum seal and just let it do its thing. Everything is already nice and packed in there. Now I'm gonna add the scissors. I got some transparent tape right here that I'm gonna use to stick these scissors on the kit. Another one. They shouldn't fall off. I'm not gonna pull on it, but there's not a lot of tape, so I can easily rip this out and use them to cut open this and start getting to work. This is what the kit is going to look like. It's all nice, tightly packed. It's perfectly sealed against all elements, so dust is not gonna get in there, moisture is not gonna get in there. I know my kit is going to last a very, very long time. I hope I never ever have to use it, but if I do, here it is. I hope you learned a lot from this video. I know I did, researching and doing all this stuff to get ready to film this video. If you have something to add or something that I missed that I'm not aware of, let me know down in the comments. And until then, thank you very much. See you on the next one.